Are you concerned about what will happen when Diddy gets released?
She went from platinum albums with Danity Kane to calling out one of the most powerful men in music.
Oh my God, Diddy got arrested.
He can consume all of the air in the room. You're gasping for air.
She opens up about struggling at the height of fame.
How did it feel to become famous almost overnight like that?
We weren't being paid. We were in horrific conditions.
Let's talk about the Diddy trial. Were you ever close with Cassie? What do you think that Diddy's downfall means for the music industry and for men like him? Do you think this will help create some type of change? Aubrey O'Day, welcome to the HelloPrenup Podcast.
Hi.
Rewind the tape to 2005. You're on Making the Band, Danity Kane. What do you think about when you think back to that time?
Right now, there's not a lot of stars and sparkly banners. Probably back then, I had a more hopeful ideology of the situation.
What's changed for you?
Well, did you watch the trial?
The whole world watched the trial.
Okay, so that's a bit of a change. You know, more of the environment and the way it looked has been exposed for people to now understand. You know, it's crazy because we've normalized and not normalized so many different things to get to where we are now, that when we look back, we're looking back on that piece of my life in the lens of today's world, and that's not the world we were in then. So I'm constantly having to forgive the perspectives and shift and move around and what people's opinions are. They're making an opinion of something then with their mind state that's in the now, and that's just not a healthy way to assess the situation, because that is not the country that we lived in then, across from top to bottom, and that affects everything. Now is not the environment that we lived in back then.
And I think what people forget is when you were on this show, there was no social media.
None.
You were what, 17?
MySpace. That's all there was, MySpace.
You
I
were
had
young.
a top 8 of friends. No MySpace, no phones. No one was on their phones. I think we had Tetris maybe that we'd play in the studio when it wasn't our time to sing. Drea would watch The Office. I still don't find it funny. I don't get it, but I laugh along and just think of her when I see it. I think, I could see how people could think it was funny, but I don't know. She just watched it so much. It's really not that funny.
And Diddy was one of the most famous artists in the world. What was your first impression of him when you first met him?
He can consume all of the air in the room. I've met very few people that have that ability. You're gasping for air. He's very polarizing.
Is it a presence thing, or is it what he's saying?
No, he doesn't even have to speak for you to feel it. Have you ever been in the presence of a man like that?
I guess not.
Yeah. It's next level.
When you first joined the group, were you feeling great about the experience? When did it change, I guess is my question.
So there was a first season and he doesn't pick a band that season. And so going on into the second season, I'm still competing like everybody else, but I'm on a hold from the first season. So I'm not going through the city by city competing against your city. They pick 3 people in each until there's 50. And then you go to New York to TRL and you perform in front of him, and he picks a handful to move into a home. And that's really when it starts. But all of that other stuff occurs as well. I did that entire setup twice. The thing that I noticed the first time, I'm thinking I'm going to be a lawyer, a diplomat probably was what I was wanting to do. I know I wanted to negotiate. I wanted to work with other countries, and I wanted to free people that were not safe or needed help, or some type of in that zone is where I was thinking I was headed. And so when I went to Making the Band, my mom sends me this email basically saying there's a glass ceiling. This job that you're pursuing, I think you're just trying to do so you can one up mommy, and you're gonna have a miserable life. You'll be facing a glass ceiling probably faster than me because you're more of an artist than me. And I just saw on the cover of the Desert Sun that P. Diddy, and I think probably his name back then, he's changed his name
I think
multiple.
he was Puff Daddy, right?
Puff. I think it was Puff, probably. She just basically said whatever his name was then was on the cover of the Desert Sun. He was doing a music competition on this thing called a reality TV show. That wasn't a thing back then. I think like the first reality TV show I believe was Cops. I don't think I even knew of that as a reality TV show. It certainly has advanced into something completely different. Documenting things in real time was kind of what it was known to do, but there wasn't like examples. There was no even music shows even. So he was doing this show on television, on MTV. I don't know that it was network specific at that time that we knew. And he was looking for a girl that could dance like Britney and sing like Christina. Very specific, which that wording alone, now that I think about it, interesting choices and interesting ways of describing two big pop stars very bluntly in very tight boxed language. But it was totally acceptable at that time. And that's what he wanted. And so my mom was like, I think you should audition. So I'm like, saw it. No thanks. I've got like political science in the morning, super stoked on going to class. We're learning about this or that today. And I had a dream that night that I was performing at Madison Square Garden, that I could remember like singing words and the fans were singing them with me, and I was touching their hands and they were crying, and it was like very like it was a moving dream, and I didn't do drugs or drink or anything, so it was like an actual dream. And I woke up and like called a friend of mine and was like, hey, I was scared of driving to LA at that time because I'd gotten in a bad car accident and I just didn't like venturing outside of Orange County. And he couldn't take me, he had to work. So I got dressed for political science and I was walking on the UCI campus, and he somehow, I don't know how we were connecting at that point. If we had cell phones by then, right?
It was
It's all such a blur.
2005.
I think
Yeah,
we were
had,
able
like,
to
the flip
communicate. Yeah, we had
phones.
flip phones.
Everything was black
really
and white.
tiny.
Yeah.
God, we advanced so quickly. It's so crazy to
Remember
go
the
back to
razor?
those days. Yes.
Yeah.
I think I might have had like a hot pink one. I don't know if that was the time, but I did have a hot
that
pink
was, like,
razor.
very cool.
Yeah. So anyways, he contacted me, said that he could take me, and I just like went out the side way and jumped in his car, and he drove me to LA to maybe the Forum, some really big performance venue in Los Angeles, and there were just tons of people wrapped around the street, and they gave you a list, and on the list was all R&B songs by Whitney and Alicia Keys. I mean, like very difficult songs to sing, and the girls were singing them better than the girls that actually are doing the songs. It was insane, very overwhelming, very like, I do not belong here. I do not sound like any of the girls that are singing right now. Like totally out of place, not for me. By the time I get through first season, I think I started to desire that job. The first round, I was very much like, I'm probably getting taken out and going back to go to be a lawyer. And my goal and my dreams and my ambitions were still very much set on the life I thought I was going to have. So everything that was happening around me was always like funny to me. I didn't take all of the... Now that I look back on it, Force and Coercion on national television sold as a funny show for the world to watch and laugh at. I didn't take all of the challenges that we were given as like, and the names we were called and the things that were going on and the very brutal conditions and ridiculous shit that we had to do that now people are suing him over. I didn't really like get into the drama of them. I kind of looked at everything like task-oriented, fish out of water. Let me see how much I can impress this person. I came from abuse. When you get in the sight of an abuser, like when he would say, you bitches, this, that, and the other, when the put-downs would start, he led with fear and put-downs to motivate. He wasn't motivating in positives. He was motivating in negatives always. So when his motivation style came to me, it was very recognizable. I was like primed to just fall right into it. And so like the bitch and the you're not and the you can't, we'd leave the room and the girls would be so affected. I would leave the room and be like, okay, cool, I'm gonna fuck him. I'm gonna fucking show him the next time I get in front of his ass. Like it came natural for me to step up to the occasion, which then made me a standout in his eyes, in the world's eyes, etc. But what it felt like back then to me was very much like everyone else. It was life or death. It was becoming a pop star or nothing. It was you get your dreams or you're a fucking nobody. To me, it was like, oh, this is cute. I'll vibe in it for a second, but I'm a serious person over here. And I think that mentality ended up working in my favor and I always had more of that in me. All the girls in my band were going to become singers. They wanted to be singers from childhood. They always knew that they were entering music and their dream was to be a musician. That is not where I was coming from. I didn't want it like that.
What was it like to go from, you've described yourself as a nerd in college, wanting to go to law school, to becoming one of the most famous artists in the United States, if not the world? I mean, through a TV show. What does that feel like at that age?
Through platinum albums is how that occurred. And TV shows wasn't everywhere, but the TV show definitely, they play on each other. How did that feel?
Yeah, how did it feel to become famous almost overnight like that?
Diddy kept us very isolated. I didn't even really know that Damaged was a thing. Like, I know the numbers. I know we went #1 on Billboard. I know we're the girl group in the Guinness Book of World Records, that only one to have 2 #1 consecutive albums, etc. I know all the stats, but it's very like procedural until like I got out of that situation and was like, I don't know, at a party and Damaged played and all the fucking girls rushed and screamed it and were singing it like their lives depended on the moment. I was like, oh shit, this really was like a girl's anthem. Our lives weren't changing when we were changing other people's lives. We were broke. We weren't being paid. We were in horrific conditions. We were dealing with the whole world, a lot of sick, weird shit that we were not used to. And we were put down and put in fear as a motivator. We weren't like thinking that we were like the girls that everyone thought we were. That wasn't what we were seeing.
Yeah. What would Aubrey of today say to Aubrey of 20 years ago? What advice would you give her?
I mean, shit. Advice that I wouldn't have taken no matter what. But I could tell you, I could spout out a few things, but I wouldn't have taken it. Even if I knew my future self told me, because I need to learn myself. And I still haven't learned these things. Don't make any decisions in your life based off of what other people want or think you should be, or their opinions of you, or what you are or should be. I still think about those things, and they are just so irrelevant. At my age, it is so obvious how irrelevant they are, and yet I still find myself thumbing and scrolling down comments and having feelings about them. It's kind of an impossible thing to tell someone to do unless you're really able to disconnect from your feelings. And some people are. They're called sociopaths. With all of the very powerful people that I've been around, dated, or worked with, 2 things were very consistent that I saw across the board. And I would say these 2 things to anyone every day of my life that I think are positive motivators that will work in everyone's favor. I never knew a powerful person that enjoyed being the smartest person in the room. And Diddy enjoyed being the smartest person in the room. So utilize that as an indicator for the type of level of power that I'm talking about. Real power, not celebrity power, not drug-induced hazes where your money and your life are really being controlled by other people, which he had to learn the hard way. Really powerful people don't enjoy being the smartest person in the room. You gotta find the room where you are the least informed, because that will always keep you advancing at quick speeds, and you will constantly be progressing towards something incredible, whatever that is for you specifically. You don't have to do what the people in the rooms do. You don't have to be what the people in the rooms are, but you've got to be around people that are smarter than you all the time, or life will slow down to a place where your existence might not be as meaningful as you may want it to be, even if you believe it to because your Instagram is cool. The second thing is I've never dated, or worked for a truly powerful person that holds on to something that is not for them. When it is not for them and it doesn't work, they cut the cord and they let it go and they continue on. The longer you hold on to things that aren't for you, the broker, weaker, sadder, lesser you will become. Every time, without fail, there's no exception. That's the rule, and it's a fact. You have to be willing to let things go, even when it's scary, even when you don't know where you're going to go next. You have to let go of the thing that isn't for you the second that you understand that to be so, and you should stay on the alert side of that thought. Close is the word that's like throwing me in that sentence. I don't know, like back then we were a family. We were a bad boy family. Like all of us were together all the time. But close is something different now that I know it to be. I thought I was close with my bandmates until I see the lawsuits that come out nowadays. Now I realize I didn't even know who the fuck I was standing next to. I don't know. Yeah, I thought we were all close then.
Did you know what was going on?
That question is very loaded. There's a lot of things that we're learning about, and there's a lot of very graphic details. Was I unaware of everything that everyone knows now? No. Was I fully aware of everything that everyone knows now? No.
Are you concerned about what will happen when Diddy gets released?
I don't think that he's at a place right now where he has learned the right lessons. I think he's observing it from a perspective that potentially could be accurate on some levels, but the really serious levels and concerning levels that I see, I don't think we even discussed them during the trial.
Do you think he's capable of learning lessons and really changing?
Yeah.
Why?
Because when you can't rely on the facade anymore, money allows you to move in a lot of ways that you naturally would not authentically move in. And you can get lost in those. You can lose the plot quickly. People don't understand how money and power is like better than the best sex you've ever had in your life. The people think porn addiction and sex addictions are crazy. Meet a powerful person. Sex ain't nothing compared to what their highs look like. It can shift you and you can lose the plot quickly. And you have access to everything that can numb you through the days that are harder. So you're really not ever having to see yourself, truly. When that's taken away and you have to like face yourself, that'll wake anybody up. We haven't seen a downfall yet. We're just saying
The trial was very public and the details were pretty disturbing.
They weren't disturbing enough to get a few stupid fucking people in a jury to understand it. So, wasn't that effective. Wasn't that much of a downfall.
What advice would you give female artists today who may be in a position where they feel like they can't speak out or are afraid to speak out?
If anyone ever finds themselves, music or not, in situations with powerful people that are encouraging or through force or coercion to be part of criminal behavior, they should go to legal officials. But my body like cringes when I suggest that because I don't know what the law is right now. We're abusing it. This administration is, I'm not quite sure where I would tell people to go right now because I'm not so sure where the safe places are, you know? I see people like a block down from my house getting swept up in cars by masked men that don't have any fucking badges. So I don't really know who's safe. And that's a problem, and we need to get to the bottom of it, and we need to create safe spaces for people because if you can't trust the government and the government officials that are licensed to keep the streets safe, then where do you go?
Did you have any relationship with the Trump family? And if so, what did you think of them?
It is so hard to answer any of that in like a realistic way because they're just so polarizing, and the experience that I'm having with what's happening in this country is so palpable that I just don't have anything kind to say. And that doesn't put me in a very good position if I just say a bunch of unkind things about a very powerful person that could make my life pretty miserable. It's a lose-lose conversation, and it's a lose for you too because then you'll be targeted. It's just not a safe space to have like that open of a conversation right now, unfortunately. And that is I know you told me you like truth tellers and you like the truth being exposed on your platforms. That's the honest to God truth. We are not in a safe enough space right now to say everything. We just aren't. And it's very concerning. I worry about it all the time. I hate it for us as a country, for the people that are getting it way worse than me. I mourn for them.
I want to talk about Pauly D.
Everybody always wants to go on this subject, and it's the most uninteresting phase of my life.
The Pauly D.
Yeah.
Why is it uninteresting?
Because I just wasn't thriving in that era of my life. It's like the bad slope. It's not like the cool part of me. But I mean, through pain comes the outcomes, so I guess it's necessary.
And I think so many people can learn from your experience with him because you had a toxic relationship with Pauly D.
Yeah, 100%, totally horrible.
Was it triggering for you to watch that trial?
It was triggering, like the things that I heard, these brilliant, the lawyers are very smart that he had, impressive in many aspects. I was excited to hear them more than I was excited to hear the prosecution. The prosecution to me was just stating the obvious, and there was a lot more obvious that they could have stated. So to me, it was underwhelming and a bit concerning and made me question what's going on here. When I asked the lawyer, I was like, I know that the world of music has shifted, the world of entertainment has shifted. In my lifetime, I've seen it make a complete fucking 180 at this point now. So it had to potentially happen in other avenues of jobs in life. So is law different now? Is that job one that nobody really wants because now most people go into law to make money and they shift over to these jobs, and you have the leftovers over here that just aren't able to carry the team and see the obvious out the gate? And he said things have shifted, but you're still going to find your tried and true within the DA's office. You're going to find those tried and true, what are they called? U.S.
attorneys.
Yeah, U.S. attorneys,
yep.
USAs. You're going to find your tried and trues. He said the tried and trues still are aware, though, that when they are done, that they will settle off into a private corporate firm that will be paying.
They usually go to big firm life after.
That's what he said. They're going to get their money eventually. So there's still some drive in that.
But Trump has been firing them.
Well, I was just going to say, Maureen Comey just got fired by Trump, and she took on all of the biggest, most influential cases, in my adult life. And those stats are pretty unique and impressive. I loved watching her during the trial, and some moments of the trial, I was like, yes, bitch. But she wasn't reading super well to everyone in the courtroom when I asked. There wasn't she wasn't selling it. She wasn't performing as well as the other side, and apparently the jury felt that way as well. There are so many obvious things that were missed that I'm just still waiting to see how.
Like what?
I talk about it somewhere else later on in life. But there's a lot of obvious things that were missed, and I think that there's either a big grand master plan that I just don't know. There has to be.
Mm-hmm.
I hope there is. I haven't subscribed to the idea that they did a bad job yet. I don't understand the job that they did yet. I don't understand why certain things weren't pursued more, but I don't know what they were working against. Starting a trial and losing 2 of your victims in the first week is pretty brutal. Having to put number 4 up too is like pretty bad. And when you think that you have a case built, you know, you already are working into the ideas of immunity and who to give it to and who to pursue after and not give it to and so on and so forth. You've already worked through that science. So to have like 2 big things drop out of your case, like the middle drop out, and then not have pursued certain avenues with other people. I mean, I don't know exactly what occurred. We'll know as time goes on. Trump plays with the ideas. One day he's thinking about pardoning. The next day he's not pardoning him because he heard him say bad things about him. And so he just doesn't feel like it.
What do you
Which
think?
is not what the power of being able to grant pardons as a president is at all supposed to be utilized in. No ego, no personal opinions. It's supposed to be a line of justice that the justice system missed by the supreme leader of the country, and it's supposed to be utilized for people that are unfairly serving time or sentenced. None of that is occurring. If anything, Diddy got a pretty nice hand for the reality of him, in my opinion.
Have you directly communicated with anybody involved in the trial, like Cassie, like...
If you are contacted by Homeland Security, you cannot, victims can't speak to victims. That we're considered victims, and victims can't speak to victims. And so you can't have contact with anybody, or you're messing with a serious federal case. I would never do that. I have way too much respect for the law.
What about now, after the trial? Have you spoken to Cassie?
After the trial, I don't have like any desire to speak to anyone involved in any world of that, because there's too many things I can't say still. There's just too many ends of the sentences that I can't finish right now, so I can't make it make sense to you. But we got to understand who everybody's playing for, who's paying them, who's paying for their teams, who they're in bed with, in business with. It's unclear right now.
You've had so many different phases in your life, Aubrey. What's next for you?
I'm not sure. I want to see how some things shape up. I'm not in an immediate rush to dedicate myself to any lifestyle that isn't going to be operating in my best interest. So I need to see how some things shape up. You know, we have like some important things coming up that will kind of decide how the country moves, how the law moves, how our rights move. The more that things get dicey in the country, the more I'm leaning toward the justice, advocacy sides of my personality and being. I'm leaning toward those sides more. I'm more active. I could care less about fame or a TV show or any of that nonsense. I'm more like, we need to have real conversations, and we need to talk about, we need to start having public discussions. We need to stop siloing. We need to stop depending on our technology and algorithms to inform us. We need to start having collective group conversations. We need to be unafraid of people that are not like us. We just need to venture into unknowns and get a lot more uncomfortable, or we're going in a bad direction. If we stay the way we are or get any more comfortable here, it's not going to end well, in my opinion, for the masses of people. And I don't care about the super wealthy people. I'm not one of them. I never wanted to be. I don't really like the ones that I know. I'm not sure about the ones that I don't know. More money has always brought more problems on in life. Biggie taught us that. I'm not interested about that. They're fine. they're on their peptides and they want to live forever. I'm worried about all the people that don't even know about peptides and that are just trying to not get grabbed off the street and hit their 9 to 5 so they can live a fucking life of work and a weekend of a beer before they got to go back to work. That's what we do in America. That is not the standard way of living in a lot of other places. Medical access is free for everybody in other places. Lunchtime is 3 to 4 hours in other places. Work-life balances are way more balanced in other places. We're not leading in an innovative way, in my opinion. I mean, we're depending on every other country to tell us who to be right now. Koreans telling us how to be advanced in beauty. Like, we're depending on everywhere else to give us answers. We don't even like what the products we're making here, necessarily. We are all trying to get the shit that's coming from somewhere else. And yet we're limited in our belief system that we can just leave and go somewhere else and actually live a better life that has an even work-life balance and way more beauty and untouched land and interesting people that are open and aren't confined by socialized ways of thinking and aren't confined by believing that we're number one and this is the best. And, like, I believe in questioning yourself at every stage of your life. The country should, and all the way down to individuals should. I don't think you should ever be of an opinion and just fly with it continuously. I think you should check in and question it as you continue on in life at every step to make sure that's where it still is at. And other places do that. And I think that, I love where I'm from. I love a lot of things about where I live. If I wanted to live somewhere else, I would. Thinking about it now, but more seriously for sure. But that's always weaponized when people say, like, I'm leaving here, and they're like, good, then get the fuck out. And a bunch of people did it at the start of this. People that are popular, so a lot of people pay attention to them. A lot of people left and nobody knows too, right? But the famous people went on and left because, and that's pretty extreme. They have a lot of money, a lot of influence, and a lot of power here. It's hard to build that up in a whole ass other country where you don't even speak the language and you aren't a native. That's a very extreme thing to do, especially when you have a pretty good, you're on the upside of, like, in the grand scheme of this country, a lot of very wealthy people that had nice lives here left. That's concerning. Who cares if they're in Hollywood? Who cares who they are, what they represent, or what party they're from? It's concerning that they would up and leave something that's really great. You don't have life like that. So it's like, I think instead of looking at these political parties and identifying within a two-party system, we should just get down to ideas. Maybe a two-party system is not healthy. It's definitely not healthy right now. When I was young, Republicans and Democrats were friends. We had discussions. They liked saving their money more and didn't want to give it to, teenage pregnant people in the Midwest. That's basically what the conversations were when I was growing up that I heard. Fuck losing all my money in taxes for somebody that's getting pregnant and not carelessly. I want to keep my money. I work hard for it. Those were the conversations, honestly, that were being had. We're not even there anymore. We're just direct hatred for another party. And I don't even think people understand the fucking thing that they're claiming. Most of them are spouting out the talking points that they're given, which is so sad because it's not at all the reality of what they're standing on. And this extreme desire to want to be identified and to fall in line with an identity is so toxic in this country. So many people don't have an identity. And the desire to have one is so extreme here. And the uncomfort that is created, even with the trans community and what Trump did with that. You can consider that an area of people that don't feel comfortable in their own skin and don't feel like what's on the outside is representing what's on the inside. I know many, and they're not making it up, and they didn't get a pill from a Democrat, and they're not being led by crazy Democratic witches and led down a crazy liberal lane of falsehoods. They just don't feel comfortable with the inside not matching the outside, and they're trying to fix it in their lifetime.
Yeah.
That's a transition phase, and we should leave room for people to do that. Because if you ever found yourself not feeling like you identify with what's on the outside, you would understand how horrible of a life you have. And I think that community has the messaging of that being destructed by the top is very toxic, because I think that there are those themes resonate even within the Diddy trial. I saw that theme resonating constantly. What if we have a discussion about when you become famous and you become a character, how you become something that you can't get out from, and that something is bringing all kinds of things your way that are fun and exciting and just elevating your levels of life and understanding of shit, money and power. You can go places, you can see shit, you can do extracurricular activities even crazier. You know what I'm saying? Like, what if that desire pulled you into something and it also is bringing more your way continuously, and you fall into that, and it's really easy to stay in that, and you can numb yourself through the days where you don't like that? What if that's happening to my ex over on the other side? What if that's happening to my ex-boss over at this side? So I see it happening to my friends that are trans down the block. What if everybody is struggling with the identity that's been put on them physically or fame, mentally, all of it? Like, I'm a character. So like, what if we're all feeling stuck? And I do believe that message is the message for just your regular friends that have 9-to-5 lives, that don't care about being famous or known or followers. They're not Instagramming their life to you daily, but they feel those same pressures too. I think it's a country, if not a worldwide pressure and feeling of like always having to be underneath an identity when things shift so different throughout a lifetime. Your DNA and your body, your physical and your mental. We didn't have an identity conversation in Diddy's trial. We're not having an identity conversation with my ex and how all of those things have shifted so drastically. We're not having an identity conversation as a country about the trans community that did not deserve what was just decided on by the guy at the top. You don't exist anymore. Forget those feelings. That's not the reality, though. Nothing has changed over there.
Do you feel stuck in your identity?
Yeah, don't you?
Doesn't everybody?
That's my point. If we all are feeling the same thing, then we need to start collectively trying to fix it. Because I don't think we need to accept that life can't get better. Americans accept that. Other countries do not, and they have more. We don't have to accept what it is right now and live by it. We can come together and actually have a better country if we really want. We don't have to have anyone that doesn't have access to health care. And if you've ever needed health care, you would never want to deny it to anyone. It is so scary to be sick. And it's so scary of a thought that I think everyone in this country, if nobody political and no money and no interest groups had any control and no technology and algorithms were being shot to anyone, if all the devices were put aside and we gathered up everyone on the block right now, I think everyone, as different as anybody is on this block that we're on, would agree, I don't want my health care being taken away when I need it, and so yours isn't going to be either, and that's the way we're going to live. I think the general consensus would be that's the way. I don't know. In this room, does everybody feel that way?
Yep.
And I don't know how anybody thinks in this room, but everybody just said yes. So like, I think like in general, we agree on a lot more than we think we do. I think the system definitely depends on us feeling that we shouldn't and that we can't and that we don't. It's the same thing I saw with Puff. It's the same thing that I saw with Dawn, teaching people in negatives. It's so toxic and it's unnecessary. I could have been taught all the lessons that I was taught without the negatives. You can teach people in positives. You don't need to say geriatric pregnancy. You can say, I'm trying to think of what the positive way of the message is that your body will change and it will be harder for you to get pregnant. But nowadays, if you just freeze your eggs, that's not even an issue. You can go to 60 till you find the love of your life and have everything in your life situated the way you want, and then you can raise a child. And with peptides, you could be just as young and you can sprint with your knees nice and juicy. Nobody told me when I was in my 20s and 30s that I should freeze my eggs. And I had all the money. And by the way, money is a huge factor. It's very expensive.
It's expensive.
Very expensive. And nowadays, when I meet younger women, all of them have their eggs frozen. They're on payment plans. I don't think there should be a payment plan. And I think if you don't want the lowest birth rate you've ever had in a country, then make women's access to freezing their eggs something that is not in the 6-figure range or even over. It shouldn't cost anything. If you want to have more children and you want to have more kids and you want women to go out there and do the hard work that their bodies and minds do to be leaders and physical innovators in this country, then don't put a price on their eggs, because that stops a lot. When you're in your 20s and 30s, you want a cute purse and to go to the cool place where all the kids, you're not thinking about freezing your fucking eggs until you have that switch where you start getting that baby fever and you see a little kid do something and you laugh when no one else noticed it. That's when you start thinking about it. And a lot of times that happens after 35. So I think that the narrative shifting are just, imagine when I was young, if someone just said to me, freeze your eggs now so you can decide to have a kid whenever you want.
Would you have done it?
Yes. And if it were free, I think all women, unless they were certain they didn't want to be a mom, and if a woman is certain that she doesn't want to be a mom, she should not be a mom. If you do not want the job, you shouldn't take the job, because moms that don't want to be moms don't raise healthy children. And healthy children end up becoming damaged adults that then pass the damage on around, and it becomes sicker than COVID.
Do you want to be a mom?
I think I would have been a great mom. No is the answer now. I've given too much of myself to the character of me that the country has created. And I'm not interested in pursuing the character anymore. And as an adult, I want to start enjoying things for myself. And when you have a kid, you need to be 100% selfless, in my opinion. I experienced parents that weren't that, and I have dealt with a lot of trauma because of that. I don't wish that on any child. Sometimes it's very hard to overcome that. I did a really good job. A lot of people that had the same situation as me did not, and that's the normal outcome. I'm not the normal outcome. And my bravery isn't going to impact enough change in that either. I appreciate when people respect my bravery and voice, but it's not changing the system. So I think you really have to be selfless in order to be a great mom and create great humans that can then make the world a better place. Why are we fucking here if we're not considering that thought? This country does a very good job at keeping everyone very distracted on very minimal things, ideas, desires, wants. And the distractions are so big, and the system, especially right now, is so exhausting that we're losing our ambition.
Do you think people feel overwhelmed?
Yes, everyone. When the majority of a country is exhausted, everyone becomes exhausted because the energy, the mass amount, it's just like music frequencies. When you make songs at in certain keys, they do better. Majors do better. It depends on the audience. I like minors, but majors are predominantly, most pop songs are in majors. Minors, predominantly most R&B, blues songs are in minors. Sound waves, frequencies, all of these things matter to your energy and the success of a product. They're affecting you. So sound baths, I think, and all the alternative healing that I did in Bali, sound baths are the most effective. I think the most effective alternative space that I've been in that like can be truly healing.
I want to turn the conversation to prenups for a moment.
Yes.
What do you think about prenups?
I mean, I think they're incredible. I love a contract. I love contracts. I mean, I wanted to be a lawyer. I love contracts. But that's not the normal thought of the average person in our country. Contracts feel like, most people in anywhere they go, if you need to sign away something real quick, a tanning salon, Botox, you just sign the papers. No one reads papers. You just sign. We both know how much is being gotten away with in the system from just people having contract fatigue.
Yep.
I think that like what you've done with the company is like makes it very chewable, easy to digest. I don't think that this needs to be a controversial topic. I watch on 90 Day Fiancé, I'll bring up as an example because I love the show. There are full-blown storylines every season, always about a prenup.
They should all be getting prenups.
But it's always a storyline that is utilized to make the foreigner seem like they're using the American and the American show their true feelings about the foreigner. And those are the way that they dissect a prenup. And I fall for it every time because I'll be throwing shit with Jasmine when she gets pissed at Gino too. But the reality is you're just trying to solidify what you've worked hard on in life. I don't think it needs to be this huge topic that it always is on 90 Day Fiancé because she should be able to have and be what she has and gained and be, and he should too. But it always ends up being this like this thing that we've weaponized as an idea that you don't trust your partner, right? Or that you and I think the idea is utilized that you don't believe will last forever if you bring this up. First of all, no one can predict whether anyone's going to last forever. If you go into any type of relationship, a marriage or a work, and you think it's lasting forever, I'm sorry that that's where your level of thinking is at. It's not mine. There is nothing guaranteed in this lifetime. We could walk outside after this interview and get hit by a fucking car. Or I don't know, last time I walked out of a studio, there were fucking 5 billion fires around me and I couldn't get to my house. I never thought I'd see that. Things happen all the time. We've got to live in the moment. Be grateful for what's in the now. And to predict that any relationship will be forever is silly. So instead of living in fairy tales and nonsense and movies and shit that people wrote that were miserable and probably writing the exact opposite of the life they live, let's just all get to a basic understanding that creating a plausible place to start with another human being that allows you some safety to know that if this doesn't work out, you're going to be okay. And the life that you worked hard for up until now will be secured as long as you maintain your own life and your career and the things that you've built, you'll be secure. And this chance that we're taking isn't promised in a forever where a bunch of different things are weaponized to show that you don't believe in the forever. It's okay not to believe in the forever. You can't predict it. You don't decide it. The world will teach you that every time. And the smartest thing you can do if you can't decide the future is to prepare for it properly. And that is something that at that point, once you get to that realization, the only thing stopping you is how much it costs to get an attorney. Because it's not cheap. And also a lot of people don't even know what to do. If I didn't grow up around a lot of attorneys, I would probably, I'd drive around and see Larry H. Parker, 1-800-5.com. I'd probably just do that. If you were to look up lawyers in the area, I'm sure like the shittiest of ambulance chasers probably have the best ads that pop up first in Google. Finding a good lawyer is not necessarily an easy thought for an average person. I don't mean average like they're average. I mean average like they don't have full access all the time. I have always had full access to a lot of great legal minds. I don't think about it. It's not a concern to me. Contracts are very normal, and putting everything in writing is very normal. But for somebody that didn't grow up like that, you've created the ability for someone to have a pretty easy journey into building relationships with people on solid ground. And honestly, the thought of not doing it is silly. And when you eliminate the concern of how do we get lawyers? How do we afford this if we don't have money? How do we? If you take all of those out, which you did, and there's an easy way to just get it done, then really the only answer is get on HelloPrenup, get it done easily, and then move on and focus all your energy on keeping it together, because that's where the hard work is going to be necessary. But if it doesn't work, you're not going to end up with nothing. You're not going to end up with someone taking from you. And you're not going to end up any more damaged than you already will be, because love is hard and it's going to hurt if it doesn't work. The last thing you want is to lose your property too.
If you get married in the future, are you going to get a prenup?
Yes, of course. But I don't want marriage. I want a great partner, but I don't need any of the systematic shit. I think all of it is overused. But since it's overused, the company's great. You know what I'm saying? If we're gonna do dumb shit, you have a very good system in place. But I can love somebody and have a great partner for life and not need a marriage with them. I'm not a marriage person. I never really thought of like myself in a wedding dress. I didn't dream of how it would look. I think of event planning all the time. I think of outfit choices all the time. I even think of wedding dresses in an abstract way of like which one is the best and how would I do it if I were designing. But I don't think I was a girl that like pictured it all out. I think that's a very American idea. And it's a very like socialized, it's a way to distract women from being more. Sorry, that's how I feel.
You've been famous most of your life. What do you wish the public knew about you?
Oh, the list is way too long, babe. You've met me for 2 days. Let me ask you that question. What do you wish the world knew about me?
I wish they knew how smart you are, how analytical you are, how much you're just so well read. I mean, our conversations in the car and over the last couple of days, I'm just endlessly impressed with you on an intellectual level.
Let me ask you a harder question and be very honest with me.
Yeah.
What am I not seeing that you think I'm missing?
In what?
Life.
I think you are not seeing your potential as a real advocate for those who need you. I think you have so much potential. We've talked about this a lot.
And what's my answer when we talk about it?
I think your answer is you're finding how you want to harness that power.
That wasn't my answer. What was my answer when you said, I want you to continue to be that? What did I say to you?
You told me you didn't want to go to law school.
I told you, what if I don't want that? You're being selfish.
Well, then you don't have to do that. It's up to you. The choice is yours.
Right. So if I want a Denmark pod, then that's what I want. If you think I'm smart
Aubrey,
and
I can't
analytical,
get behind it.
listen,
Sorry.
if you think I'm smart,
never going to get behind that.
But you did just confirm that you think I'm smart, I'm analytical, I'm impressive.
Yeah.
My intentions are guided in the right place.
Yeah.
And I have a real pursuit for justice.
But
when I'm tired and I see a forest with pod machines that you can go in 8 minutes, and I think untouched land is a great way to go in a very healthy, normalized state after being assessed by many doctors in a beautiful place that is not this shithole that we live in. Why is it so controversial?
It's your life. You can live it however you want. But I'm not going to
Thank
ever get behind you getting in a Denmark pod, Aubrey. Just
And by
can't.
the way, I just want to make it like clear. I don't know if it was Denmark. I say Denmark because it's just so fucking. I remember like Denmark is just like a peaceful liberal ass. Like it felt like, I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of Amsterdam. I don't know. But I just said Denmark. I don't necessarily know that it was Denmark. It was a place that feels like Denmark wherever it was. It
felt like Denmark.
It's saved on my Instagram. I'll find it, But, you know, like I told you, I grew up in a household that discussed Kevorkian. I grew up in a household that discussed the legality of assisted suicide. You know, I think, and we're going right back to that topic that I told you, everything I'm seeing is kind of all adding up into the same space I think that we all can agree on. You gotta let people find themselves and leave the space for whatever adventures they need to go on to get there, to do it. And nobody's journey on finding themselves is really affecting anyone else's as much as they think. And when it is, we put laws in place to stop that, and we have a just system and an honorable, licensed force of people that make sure that we're abiding by that. And there's reasonable places where we can draw guidelines to where somebody is affecting most people's lives in a negative way, and we need to stop.
Thank you so much for being here today. You are amazing.